I thought the break would be a little bit longer, but we are here. So here comes Dr. Radcliff.
Hey,
He was
how's it
rearing and
going?
ready to go.
Yeah. I heard Farzi's kids screaming in the background. It's a miracle mine haven't jumped in and started screaming so far. They're big Eagles fans, so my shout out to my kids Donna and Christian.
We'll have to grab them on one of these times. Yeah, my kids always ask
Yeah,
too, "Can we come on, Daddy? Can we come on?" But then I put them
yeah.
in front of the camera and they clam up. But the good news, Doc, I can hear you today. For those of you who were watching last week,
Oh yeah.
I got to make this clear. That wasn't my fault. It wasn't Dr. Radcliffe's fault. I found out that there was
Mhm.
a glitch on the Explorer that I was using after the show. So Dr. Radcliffe is here and I can hear him. Thankfully, everyone else could hear you last week, just me. I couldn't hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
So, unfortunately, Doc, you're back. We got more injuries to talk about.
yeah, yeah.
And this team, they were so healthy last season. They had all 22 starters from opening day play in Super Bowl 57 last season.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to be the case this year, the way things are going. But
No.
another big injury yesterday, potentially a big injury. Cam Jurgens,
Cam
the starting
Jurgens.
right guard, he's been playing
Yeah.
really well for this team. He left in a walking boot. There's been some reports that there was a sprained foot. He may be out a few weeks. What are you hearing? What can you tell us?
Yeah, likewise. It's unfortunate. He he sounds like since he's able to weight bear, it's not a fracture. The X-rays ruled out a fracture. The MRI that was done, I think today, just showed a sprain, a severe sprain. The fact that he's able to weight bear on it is encouraging. And I would estimate probably in the order of 2 to 3 weeks. Just depending on, I mean, depending on how he progresses. I'm sure right now they're icing it and, giving him a bunch of anti-inflammatories and just trying to let it calm down. He'll be out though for a couple weeks.
And when he comes back, is that something that you risk re-injuring, or is it something that's pretty good once you come back from that thing?
With all of these guys and all these injuries, it's often an acute on chronic process. So they get microscopic damage to the muscle and tendon over time, and then and then some event occurs where it's just too much and it exceeds the ability of the ligament to hold. So I think there certainly is a risk of re-injury, but for the most part, an isolated, foot strain is not as high risk as other things because they can tape it and kind of support the foot much more than they can other joints like the shoulder or the knee.
Now, is the injury that Jurgen sustained similar to what we were talking about with Nakobe Dean a few weeks ago, or is it a different type of injury?
I don't know. They haven't released specifics, and I don't have any back channel information on the specific injury, so I don't know. Nakobe obviously is still out, but the thing that's was ominous about Nakobe Dean was that as soon as it happened, they predicted he was going to be out for a couple of weeks. This one, it sounds like it's kind of more of a week to week decision.
So yeah, that is a good sign. And somebody just asked in the chat, Doc, and I don't know if you have any familiarity
Yeah.
with Derek Carr. Derek Carr played with an AC sprain, the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. They're asking, what
Yeah.
is the usual timeout for that injury? What can you tell us about an AC sprain?
Yeah, so it's usual. So the AC joint is the acromioclavicular joint. It kind of connects the collarbone to the shoulder, and obviously it's really important in throwing athletes. The typical time out of play for an AC sprain is about 2 or 3 weeks. There are different degrees of AC sprain, like ranging from a complete tear of the ligaments to just like an inflammation. And without knowing the details and the specific type of strain, it's hard to speculate exactly, but I would estimate at least 2 or 3 weeks.
So he came back and played through it. So that's pretty gutsy on Derek Carr's part for sure. Is that similar to a separated shoulder, an AC sprain?
Yes. So, I mean, they can play with it. It hurts. I'm sure it affects his precision and his strength ultimately. But like playing through it is not necessarily going to further damage the shoulder within reason.
It's more just like a pain threshold type thing.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Well, I think you were watching me and Farzy, and one of the areas of concern we have, which I think a lot of people have, is the
Yeah.
secondary for this Philadelphia Eagles team.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were very thin in the secondary spot this weekend because both Sidney Brown and Justin Evans were ruled out.
Yep.
Sidney Brown with a hamstring, Justin Evans with a neck. Let's start with Sidney Brown and his hamstring. What could we be expecting with him? When can he come back? And would he be 100%?
Yeah, so the recovery for hamstring injuries kind of follows three phases. They have to be able to walk like kind of pain free before they can start running, and it's really running that puts a lot of strain on the hamstring. I think you can infer from the fact that he didn't practice, because it's my understanding Sidney Brown did not practice, that he's still kind of in that like phase one of being able to walk in a pain free manner and or being able to run at like submaximal speeds. He's got to be able to run at close to his maximal speed before he can get back into the game. So unfortunately, I think it looks pretty ominous, and it's probably going to be another week or so um, before he's back. You follow the practice participation in that regard. Justin Evans participated in practice and was questionable for the game, and so I think that we obviously neck injuries can run the gamut from sprain or strain all the way to major herniated discs. In this case, it sounds like it's more the former, a soft tissue injury like a strain or sprain, and I'm encouraged that he's already back practicing, and I think we probably can expect him back for the game against the Rams.
So good news. Hopefully Justin Evans is coming back.
Yeah.
Bad news. You would anticipate Sidney Brown maybe being out for another week at least.
Yeah. I heard the last section, and I agree. Sidney Brown is a powerful player, but I just don't think I don't think he's going to be back in time.
And he has this hamstring injury. And another player on the Eagles with a hamstring injury was Quez Watkins, who did not
Yeah.
play this week. Similar type of deal where he needs to get back to practice before we can hope to see him back.
Yeah, so we want to see full participation in practice before they can get back, because it's not necessarily like a pain threshold thing. I mean, when they're sitting down or just doing low impact activities or exercising, they might be able to get by without pain, but they've got to be able to run pain free in order to be effective and to be able to play safely.
I hope Quez Watkins is okay. Hope he gets back out there, but I'm not in any rush to get him back to that wide receiver 3 position. I think Olamide Zaccheaus, local kid from St. Joe's Prep, has stepped up and made the most of his opportunities. A lot of people in the offseason were saying, hey, Eagles need to upgrade wide receiver 3, and Zaccheaus has made a lot of big plays, was blocking downfield on that A.J. Brown touchdown. So
I saw that. Yeah.
I'm not in any rush for Quez to come back, and even if he does, I think you got to keep giving reps to Olamide.
Yeah.
Let's jump to another team, and this affects the Philadelphia Eagles, and that is the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford, obviously this past weekend, had some sort of hip injury, and he fought through it, but he's 35 years old. This is a guy who's been very tough throughout his career playing through injury. There's really no details, but he hurt his hip. What can you expect from a quarterback with a hip injury? I know we don't know the full extent of the injury, but how could that affect his mobility and his ability to throw the ball?
Well, first, I'm troubled that we're referring to 35 years old as over the hill, and I just want to put that out there.
I'm over 35. I'm over 35.
Yeah, as am I.
We got to realize when we're talking NFL,
he's 35 years old. He's a
NFL
dinosaur.
Years are different than regular years, man. There's a reason I picked up golf over the last few years, man. I can't do anything else.
Yeah. So with that disclaimer, I obviously, without knowing the nature of the injury, I mean, if it's just something like a soft tissue injury, like the hip abductor muscle is the muscle that lifts the leg out laterally, and if it's just a soft tissue injury like to the gluteus maximus or medius, then it'll be just quick and resolved. I think that you could infer that it probably is some sort of soft tissue injury like that from the fact that he continued to kind of play through it. If he really had, I don't know, something more ominous like a non-displaced femoral neck fracture or something like that, they would have. I mean, he wouldn't have been able to play through it. So I would expect him to just play with pain.
Yeah, and he said right after the game when they asked him about the hip injury, he said, "Oh, you don't have to worry about that. I'll be out there." So
Yeah,
really
he
nothing
did
for
say
them.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing for them to really be worried about. Well, guys, we're going to be bringing on Dr. Radcliff every Monday night at 7:30 to talk about the injuries. Dr. Radcliff, you've heard me say it before, is one of the most educated,
Yeah.
respected men I know. Harvard University, Duke Medical School, very
Uh,
intelligent, great doctor. You can find him at the Spinal Disc Center in Cherry Hill and down the shore, right, Doc?
yep, and down shore. Thank you.
So check him out, Spinal Disc Center. Dr. Radcliff, appreciate you taking the time, and we will connect again next week. We're going to take one more quick break. When we get back, we'll take a quick look around the NFL and a little preview of the Eagles' Week 5 matchup against the Los Angeles Rams. Stay tuned, guys.